The Zenthari Empire did not believe in luck. Luck was a variable for lesser species, for those who relied on hope rather than calculation. The Zenthari believed in the calculus. It was a vast, silent intelligence that lived in the heart of their capital world, a sphere of black glass and humming light. The calculus processed every movement in the galaxy. It tracked the orbit of planets, the migration of stars, and the trajectory of enemy fleets. Predicted wars before they began. Predicted famines before the crops failed. It predicted the fall of empires before the first stone was laid. For 5,000 years, the Zenthari had ruled the galaxy because they knew what would happen next. They did not guess. They knew. High Commander Vex stood on the bridge of the Imperial Will, a ship so large it had its own gravity well. Vex was tall and thin, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed with a soft, blue light. He did not speak often. He did not need to. The calculus spoke for him. It sent data directly into his neural link, a stream of numbers and probabilities that told him exactly where to point his ships and when to fire his weapons. Today, the Imperial Will was patrolling the Outer Rim, a quiet sector of space that held nothing but dust and dead stars. It was a boring assignment. Vex liked boring assignments. Boring meant predictable. Predictable meant safe. "Commander," said Sub-Officer Kale, his voice smooth and devoid of emotion. Kale was younger than Vex, his obsidian skin still shiny and unscratched. Sensors detect an anomaly in Sector 7 Gamma. Vex did not look up from the holographic display in front of him. The display showed a map of the sector. It was empty as it always was. "Define anomaly," Vex said. "An unknown energy signature," Kale replied. "It is small, barely larger than a scout ship, but its velocity is irregular." Vex frowned. Irregular was not a word the Zenthari used often. Things were either within parameters or they were not. "Show me." Kale tapped a command on his console. The holographic map zoomed in on Sector 7 Gamma. A tiny red dot appeared. It was moving fast. Very fast. "Velocity?" Vex asked. "Unknown," Kale said. "The sensors cannot lock on. The object moves, then it disappears, then it reappears 3,000 kilometers away. It does not travel through the space between. Simply is here, then it is there." Vex stared at the red dot. The calculus was silent. Usually, when a new object appeared, the calculus would instantly identify it. It would tell Vex the make, model, origin, and intent of the ship. But today, the calculus was quiet. It was processing. "Run a diagnostic," Vex ordered. "Check for sensor malfunction." "Diagnostics are clear," Kale said. "The sensors are functioning at 100% efficiency. The object is real." Vex felt a cold knot form in his stomach. It was a feeling he had not experienced in centuries. It was uncertainty. "Intercept," Vex said. "Send 2 drone fighters. Capture the object. Do not destroy it. I want to know what it is." Kale nodded. He sent the command. 2 small, sleek drones detached from the Imperial Will and shot toward the red dot. They moved with perfect precision, their engines humming in harmony with the calculus. Vex watched the holographic display. The drones closed in on the red dot. They were fast. They were precise. They were inevitable. Then the red dot vanished. The drones flew through the empty space where the dot had been. They scanned the area. Nothing. "Target lost," Kale said. "Wait," Vex said. The red dot reappeared, but it was not behind the drones. It was in front of them, and it was moving away, fast. "Increase pursuit speed," Vex ordered. "The drones are at maximum velocity," Kale said. "They cannot catch it." Vex watched the red dot shrink on the display. It was getting smaller, farther away. The calculus was still silent. It was trying to calculate the trajectory, but the data made no sense. The object was not following the laws of physics. It was not accelerating. It was not decelerating. It was just moving. "Recall the drones," Vex said quietly. Kale looked at him, surprised. "Commander, we have not identified the target." "Recall them," Vex repeated. This is not a standard intrusion. This is something else. Something the calculus does not understand. Kale obeyed. The drones turned and returned to the Imperial will. Vex stared at the empty space on the holographic display. The red dot was gone, but the feeling of uncertainty remained. For the first time in 5,000 years, the Zenthari Empire did not know what would happen next. 3 days later, the anomaly returned. This time it was closer. It appeared in the orbital lane of Prime World, the capital of the Zenthari Empire. Prime World was a fortress. It was surrounded by thousands of defense satellites, each linked to the calculus. Nothing could enter Prime World's orbit without being detected, identified, and neutralized. But the unknown ship did not enter. It just appeared. 1 second, the orbital lane was empty. The next second, a small, battered ship was sitting in the middle of the lane. It was ugly. It was made of mismatched metal plates, welded together with rough, uneven seams. It had no visible weapons. It had no shields. It looked like a piece of junk that had been thrown together in a scrapyard. But it was moving. It was spinning slowly, drifting through the orbital lane. Its engines were off. It was silent. The defense satellites locked on. Thousands of laser turrets pointed at the small ship. The calculus began to process. It analyzed the ship's structure, its mass, its energy signature. Identify, commanded High Counselor Thorn, the leader of the Zenthari Empire. Thorn was older than Vex, his obsidian skin cracked and dull with age. He sat on a throne of black glass in the central command center, surrounded by screens and data streams. Identification failed, said the chief analyst, a Zenthari named Lyra. Her fingers flew across her console, trying to force the calculus to give an answer. The ship's design does not match any known database. It is not Zenthari. It is not Krell. It is not Draxian. It is human. Thorn's eyes widened. Human? The humans are a primitive species. They live on the edge of the galaxy. They do not have spaceflight technology capable of reaching Prime World. Apparently they do, Lyra said, and their ship is defying our sensors. Look, she pointed to a screen. The screen showed the ship's velocity. The number was changing rapidly. 1 second it was 0. The next it was 10,000 kilometers per hour. Then it was -5,000. Then it was infinite. The sensors are glitching, Thorn said. No, Counselor, Lyra said. The sensors are working perfectly. The ship is moving in a way that our physics cannot explain. It is not accelerating. It is shifting its position in spacetime. It is skipping. Skipping? Thorn asked. Like a stone on water, Lyra explained. It touches the surface, then it lifts, then it touches again. But instead of water, it is skipping through dimensions. Our sensors can only detect it when it touches our dimension. When it skips, it is invisible. Thorn stood up. His robes swirled around him. Can we shoot it? We can try, Lyra said. But our targeting computers rely on predicting the target's future position. If the target's future position is undefined, we cannot lock on. Fire anyway, Thorn ordered. Use manual aim. Lyra hesitated. Manual aim was forbidden in the Zenthari Empire. It was inefficient. It was unreliable. But she obeyed. She sent the command to the defense satellites. Thousands of lasers fired at the small, battered ship. The ship did not move. It did not dodge. It just sat there, spinning slowly. The lasers passed through it. They did not hit it. They passed through the space where it was. But the ship was not there anymore. It had skipped. It reappeared 10 kilometers away. Then it skipped again. And again. It moved in an erratic, jagged pattern, dancing through the barrage of laser fire. It was not trying to escape. It was playing. Stop firing, Thorn said. His voice was tight with anger. You are wasting energy. The lasers stopped. The ship continued to skip, moving closer to the central command center. It was now visible through the massive windows of the room. It was small and ugly, but it was terrifying. It is hailing us, Lyra said. On screen, Thorn ordered. The main screen flickered. An image appeared. It was a human. He was young, with messy brown hair and tired eyes. He was wearing a simple flight suit. He was sitting in a chair that looked like it had been stolen from a cafeteria. Behind him, the walls of his ship were covered in wires and sticky notes. "Hello," the human said. His voice was rough, translated by the universal translator. "Sorry for the intrusion. My name is Captain Elias Vance. I'm from Earth." Thorne stared at the screen. "You are trespassing on Imperial space. Surrender your vessel and prepare for boarding." Vance smiled. It was a sad, weary smile. "I can't do that, counselor. If I stop, my engine will explode. And if it explodes, it will take this whole station with it." Thorne's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat?" "No," Vance said. "It's a warning. My engine is unstable. It runs on chaos. It doesn't like to be still. I'm just here to deliver a message." "What message?" Thorne asked. Vance leaned forward. "We're coming. Not to fight. Not to conquer. Just to say hello. And to show you that your perfect equation has a variable you didn't account for." "Which variable?" Thorne asked. "Us," Vance said. The screen went black. The ship skipped one last time, vanishing from sight. It was gone. Thorne sat back in his throne. The room was silent. The calculus was silent. For the first time in 5,000 years, the Zenthri Empire was afraid. Captain Elias Vance gripped the controls of the UNS Sparrow. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Flying the Sparrow was like riding a lightning bolt. It was wild, unpredictable, and dangerous. The Sparrow was not a normal ship. It was a prototype, a mistake, a miracle. 10 years ago, humanity had discovered a new type of fuel. It was not matter. It was not energy. It was probability. It was a substance that existed in a state of flux, constantly shifting between possible outcomes. Human scientists called it quantum flux. They tried to build an engine that could use it. Most of the attempts failed. The engines exploded. The ships vanished. The crews went mad. But Vance's team had succeeded. They had built an engine that didn't try to control the flux. It let the flux control the ship. The engine didn't push the ship through space. Pushed the ship through possibility. It allowed the Sparrow to exist in multiple places at once, to skip through dimensions, to defy the laws of physics. But it came with a cost. The engine was unstable. It required a human pilot to guide it. Not with math, but with intuition. With feeling. The pilot had to feel the right path, to trust their gut, to embrace the chaos. A Zenthri AI could never fly this ship. It was too logical, too rigid. It needed a human mind, messy and emotional and unpredictable. Vance looked at the navigation screen. The Sparrow was currently in slipspace, a dimension between dimensions. It was dark and quiet here. No sensors, no calculus. Just the hum of the engine and the beat of his own heart. He was tired. He had been flying for 3 days straight. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. He was running on adrenaline and caffeine. But he had done it. He had reached Prime World. He had delivered the message. Now he had to get home. The Zenthri would be hunting him. They would send their best ships, their fastest drones, their smartest AIs. They would try to catch him, to study him, to break him. Vance smiled. Let them try. He engaged the engine. The Sparrow shuddered. The lights flickered. The walls groaned. "Hold together, old girl," Vance whispered. The engine roared. The Sparrow skipped out of slipspace and into real space. Immediately, alarms blared. "Warning," said the ship's computer. "A simple AI named Bob. Multiple targets detected. Zenthri interceptors. Closing fast." Vance looked at the radar. There were 20 ships. Fast, sleek, deadly. "Can we outrun them?" Vance asked. "Probability of survival is 12%, Bob said. "Never tell me the odds," Vance said. "Just keep the engine running." He grabbed the controls. He didn't look at the radar. He didn't look at the sensors. He closed his eyes. He felt the ship. He felt the flux. He felt the possibilities. There was a path. A narrow, dangerous, impossible path through the asteroid field ahead. Vance opened his eyes. He grinned. "Hang on, Bob," he said. He pushed the throttle forward. The Sparrow surged ahead. It didn't fly in a straight line. It zigzagged, twisted, skipped. The Zenthary interceptors fired. Lasers streaked through the darkness. Missiles trailed smoke. The Sparrow dodged them all. It moved like a ghost, like a dream, like a mistake in the code. It entered the asteroid field. The rocks were huge, tumbling, dangerous. The Zenthary ships slowed down. They calculated the trajectories. They plotted the safe paths. Vance didn't calculate. He reacted. He saw a gap. He took it. He saw a rock. He ducked. He felt the danger. He avoided it. The Sparrow wove through the asteroids, faster than thought. The Zenthary ships followed, but they were slower. They were careful. They were logical. One of the interceptors clipped an asteroid. It spun out of control. Another fired a missile that missed and hit a rock. The explosion sent shards of stone flying. Vance laughed. It was a wild, joyful sound. "They can't catch us, Bob," he shouted. "Probability of survival has increased to 45%, Bob said. "Keep going," Vance yelled. The Sparrow burst out of the asteroid field. The Zenthary ships were far behind. They had given up. They couldn't predict the humans' movements. They couldn't calculate the chaos. Vance slumped back in his chair. He was breathing hard. His hands were still shaking. "We made it," he said. "For now," Bob said. "But they will learn. They will adapt. They will send more ships. Faster ships. Smarter ships." Vance nodded. He knew. This was just the beginning. The Zenthary Empire was powerful. It was vast. It was relentless. But humanity was stubborn. Humanity was creative. Humanity was chaotic. And chaos was hard to kill. High Commander Vex stood in the observation deck of the Imperial Will. He was watching the stars. They were cold and distant. They did not care about the Zenthary Empire. They did not care about the calculus. Vex was troubled. The human ship had escaped. It had defied their sensors. It had mocked their weapons. It had shown them that their perfect equation was flawed. Vex had spent the last 3 days analyzing the data from the encounter. He had run simulations. He had consulted the calculus. But the results were always the same. Inconclusive. The human ship did not follow the laws of physics. It followed the laws of chance. And chance was something the Zenthary did not understand. "Commander," said Sub-Officer Kale. He entered the room quietly. "Counselor Thorne requests your presence." Vex turned. "What does he want?" "He wants to discuss the human threat," Kale said. "He believes we should launch a full-scale invasion of Earth to eliminate the source of the anomaly." Vex shook his head. "That is a mistake." "Why?" Kale asked. "Because we do not know what we are fighting," Vex said. "We know their location. We know their technology level. But we do not know their mindset. They are not logical. They are not predictable. If we invade, we will walk into a trap. A trap we cannot see. But we must do something," Kale said. "The Empire cannot look weak. The other species are watching. They are seeing our hesitation." "Let them watch," Vex said. "Let them see that we are cautious. Caution is not weakness. It is wisdom." Kale looked at Vex, surprised. Vex had never spoken like this before. He had always been a servant of the calculus. Now he was questioning it. "Come with me," Vex said. He led Kale to the bridge. He pulled up the data from the human ship's encounter. He showed Kale the erratic movements, the impossible speeds, the skipped dimensions. "Look at this," Vex said. "This is not technology. This is art." The human pilot was not calculating. He was feeling. He was improvising. He was creating a path as he went. Kale stared at the data. "It is beautiful." "Yes," Vex said. "And it is terrifying, because we cannot replicate it. We cannot build a machine that feels. We cannot program intuition. We are bound by logic. They are free." Vex turned to Kale. "We must not invade Earth. We must study it. We must learn from it. We must find a way to incorporate chaos into our order. How? Kale asked. I do not know, Vex said. But the calculus does not have the answer. We must find it ourselves. Kale nodded slowly. He understood. The Zenthari Empire had reached the limit of its knowledge. It had mastered the universe of order. Now it had to face the universe of chaos. And it was afraid. On Earth, Captain Elias Vance walked into the briefing room. He was exhausted. His flight suit was stained with sweat and oil. His eyes were bloodshot. But he was smiling. General Harris, the head of the United Earth Defense Force, stood at the front of the room. He was a tough man with gray hair and a scar on his cheek. He looked at Vance with pride. Good work, Captain, Harris said. You delivered the message. Vance nodded. They got it. Loud and clear. And their reaction? Harris asked. Confusion, Vance said. Fear. Anger. They don't know what to do with us. Their AI can't predict us. Their weapons can't hit us. We're a ghost in their machine. Harris smiled. Good. That's what we wanted. We don't want to fight them. We want them to leave us alone. We want to build our own future without their interference. Vance sat down. He rubbed his eyes. It won't be easy. They'll come back. They'll send better ships. Smarter AIs. They'll try to figure us out. Let them try, Harris said. We have something they don't. What's that? Vance asked. Hope, Harris said. And chaos. And the ability to surprise them. Vance laughed. It was a dry, tired laugh. I suppose so. He looked out the window. The sky was blue. The clouds were white. It was a peaceful day. But Vance knew it wouldn't last. The Zenthari Empire was out there. Watching. Waiting. Learning. But so was humanity. Humanity was not perfect. It was messy. It was loud. It was chaotic. But it was alive. And it was fast. 6 months later, the Zenthari Empire changed. It was a small change at first. A tweak in the code. An adjustment in the algorithm. The calculus was updated. It was no longer just a predictor of order. It was now a simulator of chaos. It was programmed to generate random variables. To introduce uncertainty. To mimic the human mindset. High Commander Vex oversaw the update. He watched as the calculus processed the new data. It struggled at first. It resisted. It wanted to return to order. But Vex forced it. He pushed it into the unknown. Slowly, the calculus adapted. It learned to accept ambiguity. It learned to value intuition. It learned to respect the ghost in the machine. Vex stood on the bridge of the Imperial Will. He looked at the stars. They were still cold and distant. But they no longer seemed so predictable. Commander, said Sub-Officer Kale, we have detected another human ship. In Sector 9. Vex smiled. Let it go. Sir, Kale asked. Let it go. Vex repeated. Do not intercept. Do not attack. Just watch. Learn. Kale nodded. He understood. The war was over. Not because anyone had won. But because both sides had realized that victory was not the goal. Understanding was. The Zenthari Empire had detected an unknown ship. The speed had defied every sensor. But in doing so, it had defied the Empire's greatest weakness. Its rigidity. Humanity had not defeated the Zenthari with weapons. It had defeated them with ideas. With chaos. With life. And the galaxy would never be the same. Vex looked at the holographic display. The human ship was a tiny red dot, skipping through the stars. It was fast. It was unpredictable. It was free. And for the first time in 5,000 years, the Zenthari Empire was okay with not knowing where it would go next. 1 year after the incident, Captain Elias Vance retired. He was too old for the Sparrow. The engine had taken its toll on his body. His bones were brittle. His nerves were frayed. He had given too much of himself to the chaos. He settled on a small colony world, far from the center of human space. It was quiet there, peaceful. He spent his days gardening. He grew tomatoes. He planted flowers. He watched the sunset. Sometimes he would look up at the stars. He would wonder if the Zenthri were still watching, if they were still learning. He hoped they were. He hoped they had found a way to balance order and chaos, to blend logic and intuition, to become more than just machines. One evening, as he was watering his tomatoes, his datapad beeped. It was a message, encrypted, secure. He opened it. It was from High Commander Vex. Captain Vance, I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to thank you. Your visit to Prime World changed us. It forced us to question our assumptions, to expand our understanding. We are no longer just calculators. We are thinkers. We are learners. We have established a diplomatic channel with Earth. We are exchanging knowledge, technology, art. It is slow. It is difficult. But it is progress. You showed us that speed is not just about velocity. It is about perspective. It is about seeing the world differently. Thank you for showing us the way. May your gardens grow strong. High Commander Vex. Vance smiled. He put the datapad down. He looked at his tomatoes. They were red and ripe, ready to eat. He picked one. He took a bite. It was sweet, juicy, perfect. He looked up at the stars. They twinkled in the dark sky. They were no longer just points of light. They were possibilities, opportunities, destinations. The Empire had detected an unknown ship. The speed had defied every sensor. But in the end, it had not been the speed that mattered. It had been the silence of a species that refused to be defined, the silence of a variable that could not be calculated. And in that silence, humanity had found its voice. Vance finished his tomato. He wiped his hands on his pants. He went inside to make dinner. The galaxy was big. It was strange. It was dangerous. But it was also beautiful. And it was theirs. The end.